Hey guys, welcome to another computer application tutorial. In this tutorial we are going to start having a look at tables and how we create them in HTML. I hope you enjoy. Alright guys, I feel that the best way for us to learn how to create tables in HTML is to jump straight in and actually start creating a table. So this first table that I'm going to create for you is going to be a table that consists of 3 columns as well as 3 rows. Alright, so what we need to start with is a table tag, and this indicates to the browser that this is the start of the table, and then we close that, and this now indicates the end of the table. So everything within these two tags that we've just created here, that will be the table. So the first thing we need to do now, once we've actually started with the table and the browser knows this is where the table starts, we need to indicate the first row. So what we're going to do is we're going to call this tag tr, and this tag is the table row. So tr stands for table row, and now inside the row we will be creating our cells, which we call table data when it comes to HTML. Now, we don't actually create the columns. What we do is create the number of cells within a row. So if you want 3 cells, you're going to have to open the table data tag and close it 3 times. So let's have a look at that. So this is TD for table data. Another thing we could use instead of TD would be the TH, and that is a table heading. So all that does to the content that goes within these tags is it makes it bold and it centers it. But for now, let's just do a TD, and then we can change it later on. And then I'm going to close the first TD. So what I've just created here is a table with 1 row and 1 cell. So I've just copied it, and what I'm going to do now is push enter and paste, and now I've got 1 row with 2 cells and now 1 row with 3 cells. Alright, so I put them all under each other so it's easier to read. And what I'm going to do here, just to make it easier and for it to stand out so you can see what's going on, is I'm going to just put here A1 and then B1 and then C1. Alright, so A, B, C, we know those are columns in Excel. And I'm just going to use the letters and this kind of Excel referencing of cells just to help you understand what's going where. Alright, now if I want this to be 3 rows, since I've done the first row already, I can just copy it. That's Control and C, enter, Control and V, enter, Control and V. So now I've got 3 rows and each row has 3 cells. There's the first one. So over here now I'm going to change this to 2, indicating that we're in row 2 here, and then this one will be a 3. Alright, so what we're going to do now is we're going to save, just so we can see what this table looks like. So I click on save. I've already opened up my browser the way I've showed you on most of the videos, and now what I need to do is refresh. And don't get shocked, it's not going to look perfect, but there we go. Alright, so we've got A1, B1, C1, that is the column A, B, and C in row 1. Then we got A2, B2, C2, that is in row 2, and the same thing with row 3. Alright, so right now it doesn't look like a table, it just looks like a bunch of writing stacked up on top of each other. So what I want to do is play around with some of the attributes, the border to be exact, in order for us to see the lines between these cells that we've created. Now I want the border to be on the entire table, so I'm going to go up to the first tag of the table, and tell the browser that I want a border equal to just 1 pixel. And if I save, Control S, and I go down to my browser and I refresh it, you will see there now we've got the table. Alright, and then one more thing I want to do is I want to make sure that this table stretches across the full length of my window. In this case, it will stop here by my cursor. And we're looking at the attribute called width. So it's the table again. So I come into the table tag. I'm going to type in width equals, and then over here I'm going to use the percent when I say 100, so it will automatically adjust depending on the size of the screen that I'm viewing this page on. Control and S to save, and then let's go to the browser and F5. Alright, there we go. Now we've got the nice table that you can see. If you want to change the background colors, you can use BG color for that. If you want to change the color of the border, you can do that. If you want to change the alignment of the table to have the table in the center of the page, you can do that if it doesn't stretch across the whole screen. If you do want to center it, then you can do that. Even the font or not the font, the text inside each of the cells, if you want to center it, you're able to do that and it will work. If you just want to center one cell, so let me show you now what I mean by these different codes. So if I come into the table and I say align here, then what happens is I'm going to center the table in the page. If I come here to table row, everything inside this row will be centered. Alright, so that's the first row. In the second row, let's say I just want to center B2. So if I come now into the table data and I align it here, we're going to see two completely different things. So for the first row, I've got the attribute in the actual table row tag, and in the second row I've got the attribute inside the table data of the B2 cell. So wherever B2 appears, that's where I put the attribute. So we're going to save this with the Control and S, go to our browser, and when we refresh, there we go. So remember the first row, I put the attribute inside the table row, and that allows everything within that row to be centered. And in the second row, I only did it to the B2 cell. So you can see that only B2 is centered, the other two remain the default values. Okay guys, so that's basically how we do tables. I just want to show you one more thing with respect to the TH that I did mention earlier. So what I'm going to do is take away this attribute that we put in the first row. Remember that attribute put everything in the middle. And then what I'm going to do here with the table data, instead of saying table data, I'm going to say that this is actually a table heading. So what I need to do is change the D to an H. And make sure you do it on the closing tag as well. And then once this is done, you will notice that the font changes to bold, and the alignment of the font will also change. Now I've taken the alignment out here, so it should actually move back to default, but you're going to see it doesn't. So over here, have a look now when we refresh. Alright, they stay centered, but I took the attribute out, so it shouldn't, but because of the TH, it's a heading, so it centers the heading, and then it also makes it bold if you look at the comparison from this B1 cell to this B2 cell. Alright, so that is the basics of a table. What we're going to look at in the next video is going to be some of the more complex attributes where we are able to make it seem like we've merged cells, and also then play around with cell padding and cell spacing. Guys, keep practicing. Good luck for your prelims, whoever's watching this and doing matric. And yeah, all the best.